How are you doing, Mr. Yamus? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm doing great. Doing good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, and let's do this.
Yo, it's absolutely my pleasure to have you. The show's Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and the idea is to take interest in people such as yourself. And then basically, what we do is we walk through your life with as much detail as possible, upon which we look at how you lived and your journey and all the things that led you to this very moment that you're in today. And then we kind of pick your brain about stuff. You know how it is, just natural conversational shits, and it flows and it does its whole thing. And the new first question, that's like the pre-question to the whole question, is if you could just let the people know in a quick summary, where were you like born? Not so much where you're from. Where were you born? Where does your journey start?
I was born here in Montreal.
Amazing.
Um,
Which part?
yeah, I'm just actually here I was born in this city, a Jewish general, but I mean, I've lived in the West Island my whole life. I was living in DDO till 15 or so,
Mm,
16, and then I moved out to Kirkland.
your respect. All right, so that's where our story is going to start. Is in Dollard des Ormeaux, a wonderful place. I spent 5 years in Dollard myself, so it's a cool spot. That's where the story starts. Now we can get to the proper token first question. All right, so it goes a little bit like this. So my girlfriend, she's washing the dishes, and as she's washing the dishes, she has her phone playing, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, the I got a feeling, ooh, and she's vibing and she's dancing and she's doing her thing. So I started like thinking about this song a bit, right? Because now in her life, this song is like chores music or exercise music. You know, shit you gotta go do that's boring, and you want to go back to the lit times in your life so that the boring stuff is a little bit less boring. But that's because if we think about the same very song and what we were doing 10 years ago, maybe not as much you, but us, we were in the clubs, and that was the fucking song. No matter where you went, that shit would come on at night, and we would be super drunk, dancing in circles to that shit. Everywhere I went, it was always circles to that shit, and everybody was having a good time, and it was super fucking vibey. And then I thought it's crazy how that same song, super party vibe for us at one age, 10 years later, it's the chores music, it's the fucking exercise music, it's the parent music and stuff. And I'm like, that's serious. Because that means all the people that are clubbing, all that stuff that's happening now, the Cardi B's and shit, that's all chores music one day for a lot of people. And then I found out that is chores music to a lot of people today still. All the club music is just chores music, depending on where you're at in life. So if songs can have journeys, and we as people involved in music have journeys, and everything kind of changes over time, and most of the time when we have these conversations and stuff, we all start thinking in the adolescent phase when we pick the music that we like that connects to our identity in some way. But really, like, that's not the beginning of the story. The beginning of our musical journeys is basically as early as we can remember, when we have all of the sounds that exist. Like, I can remember being like 4 or 5 years old, and my dad has all these gray boxes, these amps and fucking tape decks and radios, and he's hooked up to the speakers, and he's playing these Led Zeppelins, and at night there's the 90s MC Mario vibes at a fucking club radio, and my mom, she's into discos and musicals and other such things. The car had its own vibe, and basically wherever we were, there was these different sounds that kind of created this foundational element to my own musical journey that are now kind of playing into my life today. So I was hoping to do your story justice. We could run it back as early as you can remember, and you can tell us a little bit about what it sounded like to be Yamus before Yamus had any control over the sounds around him.
Um, that's an interesting one. My mom never really into music. My dad was a rock and roll guy, loved AC/DC and lead and all that kind of stuff. I would say my music started with Lil Wayne, early Kanye. That was like,
How did
what
you?
was
So how did
playing.
you discover that?
How did I discover it? In my elementary school, we used to have at lunchtime, we made one of the classrooms this like dance classroom where people would like have dance offs, and like we'd bring CDs in and play music on this little like CD player they had and stuff. And pretty much I was assigned with the task of making a CD with the songs that would be played every lunch. And I pretty much scoured the internet as a young kid looking for the most popular songs on, I guess, what was then maybe the beginning of YouTube.
What do you know what year this
Um,
was, or around what time frame?
Let me see. What's the age here? Let's say 10, 2008,
Okay. So in 2008,
2000.
you're about 10 years old,
Yeah.
and somehow you become the music curator of an elementary school dance club.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. That's how it kind of ran down. And I was just looking on YouTube for the most popular, what was on the radio, whatever I could find, and I culminated, a CD of, I don't even know how, 12 or 13, mixed of Kanye's "How Could You Be So Heartless."
Mm.
I don't remember what the album name was, but
808s and
back
heartbreaks.
then, yeah, um, and all that stuff, and since then I became like addicted to YouTube and listening, and it wasn't all hip hop or rap. It was any music. I loved, girl artists singing, and guys and rapping, and everything pretty much. CeeLo Green, Selena Gomez, Black Eyed Peas, Kanye West, like it was anything. Any music that sounded good to me, I was into. It came on my iPod, and it went everywhere with me pretty much.
Yo, that's super cool answer to start this off. So just so you know, we're gonna take all the time in the world to still go into this because for you, this might be a little bit matter of fact. But part of the reason the show is called Bridge the Gap is because there's lots of gaps that need to be bridged, and one of them is this, in my opinion, misconception that younger people didn't do their due diligence and homework throughout music. Part of that is because there was no fucking YouTube when I was 10, right? So we have the radios and the tapes and the Columbia houses and the music videos. And depending on how old we are, there's a different part of the grind. But I can tell you something, it wasn't until 2006 or 2007 where we all got YouTube that most of us really were able to go beyond who was like super into it and went through all these grueling efforts and shit. But you basically started your life as far as music is concerned with this dance club that fosters a reason for you to scour the internet, and secondarily you became a curator at fucking like 10 years old for a whole dance thing. But did you guys do like contests or like shows and stuff, or was it just like, tell us a bit more
Well,
about that?
it's like it wasn't any. I wouldn't call it anything serious. We pretty much split the. We had rooms that were kind of sectioned for smaller classes, and we pretty much used the rooms that had the least amount of desks and stuff, get them out of the way. And we had some kids that were um, pretty acrobatic, doing backflips and breakdancing, and like with YouTube came trends, dance trends, and it started, somewhere around Soldier Boy Crank That, where
Love that song.
everybody's doing the whole move. So it was people kind of letting loose, enjoying music. When I went to a Jewish elementary school, we had prayers in the morning. Uh, it was a longer day than most schools. I think it was like 7 to 4:30
Mm.
when usually elementary schools ended at like 2. So it was long days, and it was nice to relax at any chance you got. And people loved music, and it was, YouTube was brand new. People were like, music videos were brand new. Dancing was, the thing to do then. And it was just a fun thing we did. And yeah, I got to lead it a little bit.
No, but that's still incredible. So because it's interesting that you say it, just because music wasn't necessarily such a prevalent force in your household, and usually people either have this like super strong presence of music or like a complete absence, and then circumstance brings them into it. So it sounds to me like there wasn't a lot going on in your life musically until kind of school brought it into your world. Is what I'm understanding from the situation. Uh,
Yeah, pretty much. And that was like the beginning. Pretty much leaving elementary, I started drum lessons,
so before we do the
and
leaving elementary, were you into drawing or anything like that when you were super young?
uh, yes and no. I had weird kind of obsessions with like art. I did art classes every Friday for two 2 years in elementary school, doing painting classes, just fun little things, stools and stuff like that, with a family friend. And uh and and I like to draw flags. I would copy, like, I'd take a dictionary and I'd open it up to the flag pages at the beginning, and I'd draw flags during school. That was like pretty much the most art I could do.
I respect the shit out of that. I think I've done the flag thing myself personally. Um, so were you also a dancer or were you just a music curator DJ dude?
I didn't dance at lunch. I'm not and it's odd I say this because it's funny. I did like some sort, like, I don't know why they do this, but they call fashion shows sometimes, like dance shows, fashion shows. I don't know if you've ever heard of that when it
Yeah.
comes to like younger people. So,
Yes.
anyways, I actually did that 1 year, and my sister ran fashion shows for her school and for the local Jewish community for a bunch of years. So I was kind of like in that area. I never considered myself a good dancer, so I wouldn't say I was ever dancing out in public. That's for sure.
Were y'all involved with the Jewish community growing up?
Yeah. Very. I mean, I went to Jewish elementary school. My sister went to Jewish high school. I went to synagogue for the holidays with my grandfather, and I had my bar mitzvah. And we all did, and and yeah. I mean, if I don't know if you know, you live there, so DDO is a pretty well known Jewish community, and all my friends from childhood are pretty much
Mm,
mostly all Jewish, and that's pretty much the whole world I grew up around. And my mom was a volunteer for CJD and the school and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty well involved.
that's fair. Somewhere in the ballpark of 2009, 2010, I was dating a Jewish lady and got ingratiated into the dollar Jewish community for a little bit. I discovered that at Purim you can get blackout drunk and it's cool. Um, to my chagrin, is I got blackout drunk and it wasn't cool. But like, that's cool. Like, I'm Jewish, but did not grow up with the Jewishness, so it was more a completely different experience. So something I did see is how tight knit that community is. So it's interesting that you were a part of it, and by being a part of it, it ended up creating this ecosystem where off the jump you're music curating and getting some leadership experience, so that it created that environment that fostered it. I just think it's nifty that it went down like that. Um, so as much as you were like, so you were curating it, did you have any interest in vocals at that point, or was it just kind of like a bunch of folk dancing and you were just kind of into the music?
Um, I mean, I always liked. I used to. I love that. I'll correct that. I loved printing lyrics and singing along to songs. Like, I'm not a singer. I don't sing. Like, at that age, especially not. I was very like a shy kid, kind of as a younger kid-ish. And but I love to sing, like, to myself and with my sister and brother and stuff. So um, I wasn't necessarily into it. I was going down the roads of of drums and instruments
Right.
and stuff like that. That's what was interesting me at the time.
So like you said you got into drums right after elementary school as you get into high school?
Yeah, so grade six, like the summer between high school and elementary school, I started drum lessons that year. Yeah.
That's cool. What high school did you go to?
I went to St. Thomas
Respect.
over in Point Claire. Yeah.
All right. So as you're doing your drum lessons, does that like escalate into you being part of a band, or is it just more of your own journey of learning how to play? Also, do you have drums at home?
I did have drums at home. I no longer have drums at home. I did have a full set, a nice cherry red one. Sad to see it go, but I turned into more of the vocal side, and that was kind of what I was what I knew I kind of wanted out of it. But I mean, I did music for 4 of my 5 years in high school, and in my last year of my last year of music, I was forced to take drama in my final year because you can't take all one. It's like a complicated thing there, but
Right. So you're saying for like
so
the art electives, you couldn't take music for
yeah,
all the years, and you had to flip one
you
of
can't.
them.
Yeah, so you can't take any of them for all years. You have to take one that's different. So because I was writing my music out at the time I was in it, and it was giving me an opportunity to learn more about it and, learn more instruments and stuff like that. So I decided to kind of ride it out the 4 years. And I ran through a lot of instruments, and I ended up on the percussion, on the drums and stuff. And I went to what's called, we had like an honor band where they took the top students from each music department from all the schools around the Montreal, and they bring them together for a band. So I was selected for that, and played it in a concert there with a bunch of other people as a drummer and a percussionist doing a bunch of different things. So yeah, it ended up escalating for me, and it was great. I loved it, and music was like always, rhythm was my thing, and I was never able to read music well, but I could play. That was for sure.
Were you ever in any like bands that were not so organized with the school, like just for like compositions and all that stuff?
No, I never did any like bands with the friends or kind of thing like that in the garage, that I don't know, stereotype, but never did anything like that. I have friends from high school that are now in, a couple of them in their own different bands, but no, I stuck with school. I mean, I did drumline after school with the school as well and all that stuff, but I never did it extracurricularly, whatever.
The
Yeah.
drum line is like where y'all line up and do the choreographed cool drumming stuff.
Yes, our school didn't have as much of the whole choreograph thing. We were more playing for like entertainment during like parades and the Terry Fox walks and presentations for theater and stuff like that. They have us come in as like a presentation. Yeah, so not as much of the walking around, but pretty much that exactly what you're thinking of. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's cool that you're. This is all part of St. Thomas, like built into the school.
yeah,
Cause
yeah.
like
This was all part of St. Thomas.
I was in the EMSB where that did not exist so much. To be fair, it cost a lot less money to go to my school. But like, yeah, there was no music program or anything like that. So it's like super nifty to just hear about how like the school having a music program and all these things has such an impact on creating this kind of environment where you get the chance to like learn about all this stuff. But fair enough. So you're doing the music thing. You're basically practicing all of your skills. And then what happens when you start taking drama?
I took art actually
Oh,
instead
art.
of
My
drama.
bad.
I couldn't do drama. Yeah, yeah. Acting in front of people, nah, it wasn't really my thing. I took art. What happened with it? I don't know how, but I managed to pass. Completed, I guess, just enough to get through. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was more of like sit around and talk while you all do your projects, So it's kind of a more relaxed vibe. I was used to practicing and going on my own sometimes to practice and having a different kind of experience. But I mean, like I said, I painted and I did art and all that stuff, so it wasn't like anything was tough for me. I just it wasn't really my interest at the time, and I was still doing drumline after school and stuff like that. So I kind of just completed it as a class I knew I had to finish, and got on with it.
All right. So I guess at this point, have you decided you're gonna get into singing, or when does that start to come around?
At this point, I'm in the probably this is like the transition period, I would say. Coming from high school to CJEP was kind of where I transitioned. I was always, writing down lines that I would come up with here and there. Nothing like serious enough that I would even say it was close to a song. Just I would think of a line because I liked music and I was listening to music every day, walking to work at McDonald's. I'd walk instead of get driven, and just listen to music just so I can, get some time to myself. So I would write down lines here and there just for fun. And then it was kind of like then when I transitioned into, deciding I was kind of more into rapping and that whole like modern rap was kind of becoming a little bit more of a thing. I wouldn't say I like my like interest in rap are like kind of not mainstream as much as like most people, whereas like I'm more of like a trap rap. I liked like Kodak and 21 before they were like famous, Famous Dex and like
Right,
more low key rappers like that.
so let's talk a bit about, like, okay, before we move on to your past high school, because now that you're bringing it in, what is it like to be in high school and like discovering music? Like, because it sounds to me like you weren't like as inspired by the trends. So how did you go about looking into music? What kind of things were you influenced by? Are you like an algorithmically driven person?
Um, in high school, it was kind of interesting because music wasn't like there was no Spotify and like streaming services like that like we have now where it was easy to get music on your phone. It was kind of like if you wanted music on your phone, you got to go and download each song individually and then upload it and all that stuff. So I had like a to YouTube app that you could save videos kind of thing, and it would just use your data, and you could just pretty much watch them by listening to music in like that kind of sense. And I would go online and listen to, whoever I was, playing at the time, small rappers and stuff like that. And I would just go through their YouTube's recommended and look at their features and go to the features pages and listen to their music and see kind of what I liked. And I tended to, I'd play a bunch in a row and I put my phone on lock and I would do something, go to work, walk, daydream, sit around, sit in class, whatever it was, and listen. And when a song would be good enough that I would notice it while I'm doing something, then I would right there go and download it. And that's kind of like how I still like pick my music and stuff like that. But I was pretty much rocking YouTube videos that I had saved on my phone.
Yo, but that was still interesting the way that you approach it with the kind of like distracting yourself, and then when a song can actually grab your attention, you take that as like the measure of it being a very, very good song. No, that's super interesting. We got a question from the chat from Softara22. Yo, Yamus, if you could feature on a song with two rappers, who would they be?
Two big rappers, I would have to say, I'm gonna go with Drake and Lil Wayne, or Lil Wayne and Famous Dex. Those are my. I guess I can't go two. It's like three, but those are my top three. I would say overall, they've all like influenced me and came into my life at different times and had different effects on my life. And I'm kind of grateful for every single one, and and how they kind of shaped me as an artist and made my style kind of the way it is,
All right, let me ask you a question that might come off a little strange to you. What is good about Famous Dex? Because I genuinely am not that familiar with his music.
Famous Dex. Famous Dex is an interesting artist, and he has a very very interesting flow and vibe, and he doesn't even call himself a rapper, and I agree. He says he makes energy music, and that's kind of how I look at all of his songs when I listen to them and when I enjoy them. And for me, his older music before he blew up, so I'm talking before Drip from My Walk. I'm sure you've heard that one. That was like one of his most famous blow up songs.
Bro, I'm
Um,
33. There's like a good chance that maybe I have not heard this because of life.
okay, so pretty much before his blow up song, I was listening to him. He was making very trap, gangster, kind of like not music like rap, like he was talking kind of on the beat. And where I was in my life when I found it and when I was listening to it was kind of like the same sort of things I was going through. Like I'm not gonna say I was on like that kind of level or anything, but I was, that was the phase where I was kind of doing the worst of of things I've done in life, and the music kind of related to how I was feeling, and it, kind of fit me, and then I vibed with it, and me and my brother connected a lot through that music, listening to it together in the car and stuff, and just from like that past music and the history I have with it and the emotions it's made me feel, I just carry that on to the music now, and even sometimes like I don't enjoy the songs, but I enjoy like he's someone that doesn't really care about what people think and what like the popular thing is, and he makes music that he likes, and I think people that appreciate that like enjoy his music, and that's why I enjoy it. So
Yo, it's super interesting to me to hear you say all that. Firstly, Wacko Jacko says hi to you. So I
what's up? What's up, Kyle? That's my boy.
have to give the love. If the people are going to come through like that, it's a big respect. Not everybody comes through like that. So everybody who does is
Yeah,
VIP.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I see Soft Ara too. Shout out my boys
mm,
at camping.
yeah.
They're all cheering me on, so shout out them too.
But it's interesting to me to just hear like even what kind of music you like and why. Like Drake, I kind of understand, but it took me like 5 years to get into Drake and understand it, and now I get it. Okay, like I get it now. But when you're like young and you're going through high school, what was it that impressed y'all? Like, what were like the songs and the vibes that kind of inspired a little bit like the peeps that were around you?
The people around me, I think like that was, I don't want to like get poorly quoted on this, but around the time, beginning of high school-ish, around the time where EDM music or like Skrillex kind of like became popular. Now, it's not my cup of tea, and everyone that knows me knows that it's not my cup of tea, but a lot of my friends like it, and I appreciate, every interest in music, and I got boys that make EDM music and do it, very, very well, and I think that there's that all, I love songs that are EDM music with rap over them, and I think there's a nice mix that comes
Shit.
along in industries. So that was like I think what was popular, and a lot of songs were bulletproof and stuff like that were popping off with a lot of EDM with singing and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the environment around me, and that's how I kind of knew I was not listening to mainstream as much, because that wasn't really what interested me. Although any good song, catchy song on the radio, I'll be singing you know at some point, but yeah, but it was interesting, and it still is with EDM becoming more and more popular with festivals like Il Nick and stuff like that.
Yo, I really love that you said that. I fucking swear I have an EDM rap album in progress I'm recording. So the fact that you said that is just like the coolest shit ever to me. Um, but like, so what kind of shit makes people? Okay, so I guess my question is, so are y'all like as driven to the technique of things, or is it more about like the energy and vibes of things? Because everything you said was, I feel this, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but it was a lot about my life happened. This song got attached to this memory. This context got created. So do you feel like that is a more important thing to create for people than worrying about being like the best with it?
I think that it depends on the person, and I think that in any case it's a balance of both. I mean, it's depending on how you're taking your career in music, and your seriousness to what you're doing in your art and stuff like that. That kind of it is based on what your focus of the music you're making is, and I think that to be to be really good, you have to be in a good balance of both of them. And for me, you know I'm not like, obviously everybody wants to blow up. I mean, not everybody, but fame and money and performing like that's like kind of like the goal, I would say, in this industry, and that's not kind of like really my focus. I enjoy the music I make. I enjoy making music. I enjoy hearing myself. I love seeing that people played my music, seeing My music come up on people's playlists. And for me, I I I I make music because I like making music. And the technique that I put into it and the work I put into it is based on how much I enjoy it. And I think that the technique, it needs to be there, and you need to kind of put effort in, especially if you want to raise yourself in the game. And shout out to people like Drew that are like pushing content out and kind of making sure you know that they're serious about what they're doing. And he still shows his emotion and his personality in his songs, and in the behind the lyrics that he does, he explains kind of where these things come from and how he thinks of these things. So I think that, to elevate yourself, you need to have a good balance of both. But if you're about making music because it makes you happy, then I think that's a good enough reason. And if you're about it because you really want to be famous, then you don't care about what the music is, as long as it, sounds good and it's popping and people play it, then so be it. That's the way you do it. And if you have success, more success to you. That's kind of how it is. I'm good for anyone in the game, and I'm support anyone chasing their dreams and achieving their dreams. So, more power to anybody that can do it.
That was a really big answer, and I liked it a lot. um, I think the most interesting part of what you said focused on like the motivations behind it. Yo, Drew really is pushing. I fucks with Drew. He came through, talked to him. I felt that vibe off of him. I watch his Insta game. I really appreciate what he does with it. But I also like what you said about the fact that you're just kind of into making music, and perhaps like all of it isn't as interesting right now as just making the music and letting it be and just kind of doing what it is. Now that's also a motivation. I mean, end of the day is like life reopens again. There's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna meet and like congregate, and I think it's kind of important for everyone to keep in mind that people have different goals and motivations as they come into it, and to try to find or at least understand who you're dealing with as you're dealing with different people. So I really like what you said there. It's fucking cool. All right, so you like go to Cégep, and what point do you like actually decide to start like making music, and how does that actually like come to be in your life?
Um, Interesting. So I pretty much go to CJEP. CJEP comes with freedom, as everyone that goes to CJEP knows. Coming out of high school, it's
Which one did you go to?
it's different. I went to Abbott.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I went to Abbott too.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Abbott, and I went in for electrical engineering technologies. My goal was to, be I guess, an electrical engineer. That was kind of, that was my path, advanced sciences and stuff in high school. And I think that with more freedom kind of like set me out of whack a little bit. And I kind of took advantage of it a little bit too much, and pretty much did whatever I wanted, didn't go to class. Yeah. Didn't do homework. Like, you can name, anything you can name, I did it. And I think that at that point, that's kind of when I was starting to put, bars together and write songs, and just had, a good little selection of songs that I had hoped to one day, eventually record, with whoever down the road. And around that time, at the beginning of CJEP,
Well,
my
when you say
friends
you put
started to
songs
get.
together, did you have like beats and stuff that you found, or what is it?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about how
Yeah.
tell us more about this process.
Okay. So, I mean, it starts probably like any kid starts these days. I grab beats off YouTube, find things that I'd like, download them to my phone, and pretty much I would sit outside, or stand outside and pace. Actually, I'm like a very ADHD kind of, need to be constantly fidgeting. So I'd stand outside and I'd just pace in a circle on my backyard porch, and just write and rap it out, and write and rap it out, and continuously add and add and add. And sometimes I can get sometimes I put a whole, song together in 30, 40 minutes outside. And sometimes 2, 3, 4 days I'll spend outside for 3, 4 hours, trying to write and figure out how it kind of went together, just kind of figuring out my style, what kind of flow I wanted, what kind of word, what kind of speed I can get off, and how I can kind of go about it. And and I pretty much just wrote on beats that I didn't know if I could do it on, beats that I kind of vibed with, beats that I didn't vibe with, beats from my friends that were starting off in their music game, making music and
Do you have a lot of friends that make
experimenting with
beats?
DJing. Make beats, yeah, a decent amount. I wouldn't say a lot, but a decent amount. Friends making beats, friends making EDM, friends that play in bands, like live, making rock music and R&B and stuff like that. Um, Friends rapping and friends singing and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say a huge array, but a decent amount. And I've met a lot more through you know competition, competitions, all stars, Beats by In It, doing kind of things like that. And meeting JK, meeting Drew, talking to Drew, and Lynx, and all of them. So I think the rap community here and the music community in Montreal and in the West is very strong, and everyone supports each other, and it's a nice big family. So
Wait, what? Hold on. I'm doing hyperbolic shit. It's not to make fun of you. It's to make fun of other people. We in Montreal, and we have a bunch of young folk in the city acting like a big family, making some moves. Wow. Who would have thought? I would have thought. But yo, it's because I talked to fucking Drew and them, and I started talking to him, and I met fucking Golden Coast. He's up in the West too, and I met these different people over the internet, and it seems like y'all are doing it. But I love what the fuck you just said. Y'all are really just proactive and shit. Tell us more about your community y'all have popping off.
yeah, so I mean, like, it's it's a culmination of meeting guys through competitions. And huge shout out to, I would say, All Stars MTL for this, because they brought a lot of people
Ah,
together.
it's
And I'm
fucking
sure, I don't
funny.
know
No, because
if you've
ironically, the reason I know about any of you is All Stars Montreal. I got
yeah, I saw that you were
smoked
on
by
the first
Hoshe.
one.
Yeah, smoked by
Yeah.
Hoshe. It is what it is. Um,
So yeah, shout out to them, and creating kind of an environment where, like, they put people up against each other, but I don't really see it that way. I've spoken to so many people that have been in all three of the competitions and met them through them. And I'm sure you've seen Drew's new promo for his new project. So he's got all MTL guys on it. He's rocking a full MTL project. So it's
to be
and there's
honest, I
group
haven't
chats
seen that
between
promo,
us.
so fuck it. That's real cool. It's so good to see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out Drew. I mean, he put a crazy tape together, and I'm on there with JK, and pretty much you read through that list, you could pretty much find everybody on All Stars. And we got group chats, and we're talking between each other, sending beats around, asking opinions on raps and beats, and working on projects together. So it's great. The Montreal community is strong, and everyone's supporting everyone.
And it's on
There's
Instagram.
no animosity. Instagram, yeah, Instagram. I text with a lot of these guys through meeting them through this, getting close with guys, and yeah, but a lot through Instagram, yeah.
That's super dope, man. That is like super dope to hear. And I don't know. I feel like Montreal been bubbling for a minute with all kinds of stuff, and this COVID period has been a very powerful asset in terms of like the networking potential, but also nifty to see the West is congregating like that. Like I'm linking up in my like Southwest vibes over here because that's where we at in the city, and it seems like everywhere I look, people are all trying to be doing things. So it's just really encouraging though to see how far y'all are taking this Instagram and creating this kind of community. Like, I don't know, it's one of the most inspiring things I've heard today. For real, reals.
Yeah, yeah, it's great, and Instagram is really good. I find with suggestions and making kind of the way they mix with you can message and share reels and they allow longer videos and previews and it's like the All Stars
I
competition, you
don't
see
mean
it on
to
their
cut
page.
you
It's the
off,
first.
but shout out
Yeah.
Ghostface Miller with that raid. 11 people just joined our fucking stream, so we gotta give love. Yo, Ghostface Miller is this fucking dude who does scratchings and shit up in the UK and stuff, so it's fucking blessed. So shout him out for real, reals.
Yes, sir. Respect, Ghostface.
Not to
Thanks
cut
for
you off,
showing love, man.
just like the Twitch
Nah,
rules
nah,
and
it's
shit.
all good. It's all good.
So yeah, for everybody that just joined, Yamus is schooling us all on how Montreal has this lit ass Instagram community that us old men are kind of complaining about and not even knowing exists. Like we're all like, wham 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 blah blah blah, and we complain a lot. I mean, I do it as a joke, see, because I fucking love y'all. But I'm like, yo, pay attention to the young ones. I promise, they all up on Instagram doing all kinds of litty shit. I'm not in the club, but I know it's there. And here's Yamis being like, yeah, so there actually is a club, and we are all supporting each other. And I'm like, this is the coolest interview. This is amazing shit.
Yeah, and there's no we don't exclude, any artist in Montreal, feel free to hit me up or hit Drew up, JK, any of those guys. Like you can get in this and we'd be more than happy to have you guys. We're trying to build the community and we're trying to make, Montreal what it deserves to be. I think there's a great music community here. We got a great clubbing community and I don't think we get the respect that we deserve in the music game. And I
Facts.
think we're gonna change that.
I like it. I like the fact that you're super mad inclusive with it. I'm gonna like definitely hit up all y'all and see what we can all do to like more collaborate and network. Since if we have like our shit that we doing on this part of the city, you have your shit that you're doing in that part of the city, and everybody trying to link up and make their own little things happen. If all the things that are happening can talk at like a bigger level, that's when you create the level of cohesiveness that I think we're all kind of looking for.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
No, but it's super cool stills. And what's nifty is, at least in my experiences talking with, so we've had Drew on here, we had JK. Actually, that's why I wanted to hit up to you, because I heard this song, fuck it, what is it? Three-headed something. Giant?
Three-Headed Shadows.
That's it,
Yeah,
three-headed shadow. And I had like the two of the shadows there, and I'm like, well, this is silly. We need to have the third shadow, because I really fucked with that song. I kept listening to it over and over again on my shitty Montreal playlist. It's actually called The Liddy, but it's really long, so it's pointless. But it's there to be like, look, this is all Montreal. So I was bumping your shit, and I realized, yo, like, it's nice. like, I was like, this is a good song, and I really appreciate the fact that y'all are doing so much work with this and just putting out all this music and like not necessarily worrying about whatever, just focusing on building up your little corner of the city. So anyway, we go back to your story a little bit. You fucking are in Sejap. You have all these songs you're putting together. You kind of grabbing the beats off the YouTube. How are you recording these songs? Or are you recording them?
so beginning I wasn't recording, pretty much just waiting for that opportunity when I could, or at least. And pretty much halfway through my CJEP career, my friend decided to build his um, kind of mini studio. He wasn't into like rapping or anything like that. He made EDM music, but EDM has a lot of vocals and little singing parts and stuff like that. So he had gotten kind of the whole get up and all that stuff, and and he pretty much let me come and record with him, and we worked on it together. And it's it's my brother from my childhood. And shout out to Ridge, Araa. They're crazy. They're gonna be dropping some songs soon, and he pretty much let me record. And it was no auto tune, no, very basic effects. And I think he did a really great job with a lot of the songs early. And I was testing out a lot of different styles between rapping and singing, and and it was cool. And I started with, SoundCloud, dropping here and there on SoundCloud a couple pieces, and then it kind of like transitioned as I realized that I was kind of, able to do this. More of my friends were getting into this realm, and one of my friends from childhood, Gabe, he's always been into music, making music since before I was even writing music, and he built a studio and went to school for this, and pretty much taught himself how to mix and master, and he makes amazing songs. You can check him out on Spotify and all that, GVBE. And he helped me make Mesmerize. He mixed Mesmerize and mastered Mesmerize, and shout out to him. And I got more tracks that he mixed and mastered that are in the vault right now. But but a mix of them too. They kind of brought me into this, and allowed me to kind of get in the studio at the beginning, and kind of, figure out if I could do this, and if I could, if this was, a reality in my world.
Well, I'm going to assume it turned out to be a reality in your world.
Yeah, yeah. Now I got the stew at home, and they got stews, and I work with them, and I got songs with Ara coming out too, working in the works right
So that's,
now, and
can I
it's
ask you
good.
another question? Because a little bit like it's a little bit market research for me. Like, how often do I get to talk to this person that's in a completely different universe than my universe? Do y'all have home studios? Like, do you guys go to studios? Is that like an interesting idea, or do you just prefer to do it at home for life?
Um, I think that I would love to go to a studio for the experience, for the professionalness of it. I mean, for me, it doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, if the song turns out good in the basement, if it turns out good in the studio, it doesn't really make a difference. No one knows where it was recorded at the end. So, you know, to make it a more feasible thing for me in terms of getting to record, and getting to try out things, and taking the time to spend in the studio trying out different techniques and new techniques, and test out lyrics, and change songs up. It was just more realistic to put a studio myself together, and and just do it here, and this way I can pretty much on my own time spend as much time as I want figuring everything out, and how it works, and kind of how to go about things. And over time I've, increased my skills, and changed to mixing and mastering myself, whereas I was just recording here at the beginning and sending my audio. So so it's
Do you,
allowed me to kind of put more effort into this.
so do you think that most people are doing what you're doing with the home studio, teaching themselves how to do this shit, etc., at this point?
In terms of, I mean, from the people I've met, pretty much everyone is going that route. And I think that also home studios, in terms of renting them out, are even becoming a popular trend now, that gear is more feasibly priced, and and uh and technology is more common in households, just kind of high amounts of technology, and being able to, plugins and stuff like that used to not exist, and you had to go to a soundboard to make these sounds. So I think that it was kind of always coming this way as technology advanced, and from what I've seen, pretty much everyone I know has studios at their house. I mean, Gabe records out in Toronto at some real studios, but besides that, every Drew, JK, all the links, all these guys, they're doing it out of their house and out of their basement, and it allows them to kind of put more time into this, and not have to worry about the money aspect of renting out studios, and going in there and trying to bang out as much as you can in that small condensed time. It allows you to kind of sit with songs, and work on them on your own pace, and I think it allows a little bit more creativity, because you're not set in stone when you get in. And I know that, in the future, when you're big, you can kind of sit there for hours and hours on end, and days if you want, renting out studio time. But for young guys with not a lot of money, working part-time jobs, going to school, it's not really feasible. So I think this is a better route in terms of letting creativity flow.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And shout out Ghostface Miller, who bumped Three Headed Shadow and says it's very dope. So that's fucking cool.
Respect, man, respect. I appreciate that.
Nah, but I love your energy, man. See, this is where it's like inspiring to me. Is like, I feel like a lot of us above the age of 30 are trying to go through this renaissance where we're like reinventing ourselves. But the fact is like, y'all are the future, right? So it's whatever y'all are gonna do that's gonna like dictate the trends of wherever the fuck stuff is gonna happen. And we can either ride the train with you or we can fight reality, is how I see it. So the more I get to talk to people that are making these moves and seeing these transitions, it's like, yo, I'm just gonna do what y'all do. Fuck that. Y'all are doing simpler shit and it costs less money. Love it. Let's get it. Um, and then as shit comes back to life though. So okay, so you start making music. Have you ever performed?
No. Like my music, no.
That's serious. And you want to perform though, right? Like this real life shit, is it important?
Yeah, yeah. Of course. Like that's my dream. My dream is like I think a lot of MTL kids' dream is, standing in the Bell Center and stand in front of people you grew up next to, and people that can kind of share the same environment as you and understand. Especially a lot of music is based off of past experiences and how you go about life and how you were raised and stuff. So I think that it's nice to be able to kind of get that vibe and see my own people out here and get that experience. So yeah, of course, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's fucking dope. Honestly, I like how you said I want to be on the Bell Center with my boys doing my thing. That's nice. That's such a pleasant familial thought. And I say that because I want people to know that this is Montreal too. Um, but honestly, yo, what is Reddit sessions? Ghostface Miller, tell us what Reddit sessions is, unless you know what Reddit sessions is, because I personally don't. But meanwhile, Ismail has a question that's going to lead into other questions. What do you think about room performances? Like right now, your room, I'm assuming here, you bust out some tracks and you start spitting at the internet.
I'm all for that kind of. I find it's happened a lot during COVID that people are kind of doing their at-home performances where they're kind of setting up, sometimes outside in their backyard or in the car or whatever, like Machine Gun Kelly did there, and kind of just spitting their tracks. I think that's a crazy and cool idea, and I'd be, down for it. I think that it takes a little bit of the pressure off, but it's a different experience. I feel like
It's a different
even having
pressure.
a conversation over, yeah, exactly, two different pressures. Having a conversation over the internet is different than having a conversation in person, and the content can be the same, but reading body language and facial expressions and things like that, it doesn't get as well communicated over the internet. But I think that it's going to become a very popular thing, and if the MTL boys decide they want to put together a little show and we all do our thing, I'm going to be out there. This is what
Yo,
I live for. So
are you kidding? The second COVID's done, that's what's gonna happen. A lot of us are gonna be out there. Like, yo, all I do is fantasize on how I can do things that take this Twitch experience and blend it with that real life fucking show experience. And I have theories and predictions and a bunch of shits, but like, it's like, yo, the live is about to come back the second the government's like, okay, the second vaccinations are done, enough of you have the percentage. All of a sudden it's gonna be like a fucking switch and everything's allowed back again by like the winter time. So now's like the planning phase for the wise, where we like, make our little moves and figure out what the fuck we're gonna do. Also, Ghostface Miller, I don't know how to stream to Reddit, but I fucking love that idea. Apparently we can stream to Reddit, do our own fucking little sets and network up on the Reddit sphere, which is definitely not a sphere I'm that comfortable on. I'm not really a Redditor myself. I should maybe look at it more. Stills, as an example, like, what would you think about doing shit like fucking busting rhymes in parks and shit like that?
I'm with it. I mean, I mean, yeah, I'm down with it. I think that, it's never been kind of in the a plan for at least a lot of us for a good amount of time because like it's you can't really do anything these days, but when it opens up, I think that's a good opportunity to kind of showcase talent and bring it to the streets, and it's uplifting when you see music out on the streets. Just being in the city, Montreal has people that are playing music everywhere out downtown and in the parks and Mount Royal and all that, and I think that it creates a cool environment, especially when we're just going to be getting out and being, getting that freedom back. That it could create a nice setting, and it's also, a great way to get music out and get people in the city bumping the city. And I think that's how like a lot of cities take off. You gotta blow up within your sphere to exit into the other spheres.
Yo, I fucking love that. So y'all are trying to make Montreal litty so you can get famous elsewhere. That is your focus right now.
I think that anywhere where music is prevalent, there's huge music communities that that are bringing up and allowing these people to get their opportunities to come and get to the big stage and have, I think, at the end of the day, it's about getting the music out. If people see it and it's a song that can be enjoyed, then people will enjoy it. It's more about getting it to the people that can enjoy it, and getting music out there is a little hard in terms of the fact that it's so easy for everyone to put out music these days,
Preach that.
that there's a lot of music out there, and it's not as easy to get noticed because of that. But I think that if you can become big within your city, then that's what your city talks about elsewhere, and that's where things lead to things
Woo!
becoming
Hold
bigger.
on. Can I just ask to, like, if I'm understanding what you just said? So if you could make the shit in the city litty enough that motherfuckers be saying your name when they do shit like tourism in other places, they bring you to them places and bring up your name. Is that basically what I heard you say?
That's pretty much, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh, dude, you fucking speaking my language. Dude, I had no idea what to expect with your interview. Because again, like I said, there was like 6 songs. Where's Yamus at with this? I couldn't find you on SoundCloud, and I was like, I'm way too last minute now. Let's go live. And those were 6 really good songs. That's what I found on Spotify, and I thought they were dope. And I enjoyed your vibe, and I enjoyed your precision, and I enjoyed your flow. I like your use of auto tune. I'm like, yo, y'all must be on some shit that I can fuck with for real, reals. And I like the fact
I
that you're like
appreciate that.
working with other people I've talked to. Like JK's off face to me, Drew's off face to me. So it's like, okay, and y'all West Side, interesting. My mom's is in Purify and shit, right? So I have some love out there because it's got like a part of my heart stills. Um, so y'all be doing your shit. Alright, y'all be making it happen like that. Um, shit, I kind of got distracted for a quick second. Where the fuck was I going with this? I don't remember. I just got excited hyping you up. Nah, but it's cool to see that this kind of shit's happening inside of the city. I'm just gonna move on, and if it comes back to me, it comes back to me. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That kind of shit happens sometimes. How much does social media matter? And you said something to me off cam that I think is cool that we should also talk about. What was it like not being allowed on Facebook?
Uh, it was weird. It kind of distanced myself from trends, especially when trends were becoming kind of, I mean, trends were always the thing. That's what kind of drives, uh, you know, the world, and advancements in trends is having trends and people seeing things that are common, and trying to go different from the common, and be making the kind of the new common. So I kind of that's I think that's what kind of pushed me off to the side of mainstream kind of everything in a way, where I didn't wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't seeing, people back then. People updated everything. You went to get ice cream with your friends, it was on Facebook. You went to the movies with your mom, it was on Facebook.
This is
You went to
true.
school, it was on Facebook. You're mad, it's on Facebook. You broke up with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is, it was on Facebook.
So you were
So
saying in high
so
school you were this is in high school you were not allowed on Facebook, so you dodged all this shit.
yeah, pretty much. I started, I think, like towards the end, maybe my last year or two possibly, was when I about got onto Facebook, and I tried behind my parents' back, but like I said, DDO is a tight knit community, and it wasn't hard for another parent to call me out. So yeah, I tried, but to no avail.
There is
So
straight up Dollard mom communities, and they are vicious. I've seen screenshots
yeah,
of the Dollard mom snitching communities, is what I like to call them, but they're real things that exist up in the internet lands of parent Facebook. Parent Facebook is a fucking wonky place, but it's harder than, like, if you think battle rap and shit can be hard. No, mom Facebook groups is the hardest shit I've ever seen on the internet. Um, I digress. So you kind of got policed in that situation. You finally get your independence and get on Facebook, and then do you feel like do you feel like with music it's important to leverage? I mean, it's obviously important to leverage social media, but do you feel like Facebook has a role? Like, which ones do you think matter, and which ones do you feel have the biggest advantage?
I think that I think that every social media matters, and the reason I'm saying this is because if you like look at any modern day famous artist, y- like even if you don't know, they have an account. Every time a new social media takes off, somebody goes and makes an account for them. They have an account. You see people's music on TikTok. You see, like on ads. I'm talking about. You see it on Instagram. You see it on Facebook. You see it everywhere. And I think that the way social media works is it's giving you the opportunity to choose or to promote your music everywhere, and it's free to pretty much put it almost anywhere. So I think that using as much of any social media that you can is to an advantage. And there's different, like you said, there's different crowds on different social medias. And like you said, you're not very proficient in Instagram, but you are in Facebook. And maybe if I was posting more on Facebook, you would have found me or Drew or
No,
whatever
that
earlier.
I don't
And
know about
because
that. All Stars Montreal probably had to exist for that to happen. I'm gonna be real with you. They were like a way that I could find Montreal people. I mean, the one thing you knew about All Stars Montreal is that everybody in that group was in Montreal, and um, I don't see things like that existing on Facebook as easily because Instagram has more of a hashtag game going on where you can just like search like Montreal rapper and actually find things, whereas Facebook is more like algorithmic networking. It feeds you what it thinks you like. So basically, I'm totally tied into this community of like 300 English rappers that I've met via the internet that are all of approximately the same age range and etc etc, and it's fucking weird to me. And then I go on Instagram and it's completely versatile. It is completely random. I meet, like, you can meet people of anyone randomly, I find, on Instagram. And then I know there's the whole TikTok grind, which I'm sort of starting to fuck around with more because it's actually really easy to record yourself freestyling and hit fucking enter. It's not like you have to try very hard if you just want to fuck around with it. But do you TikTok? Do you like TikTok?
I enjoy watching TikTok. Um, I've made a few, nothing really related to my music, just for fun. I'm not like I'm not a big maker of TikToks. I love, watching JK's and Drew's little collab talks and little,
What's a
what
collab
I
talk?
love. It's not a collab talk. They do like mini collabs on remakes of songs, and they kind of like do a little TikTok video kind of with it, and it's pretty entertaining to watch. And it's like a mini showcase of their talent. A couple, short bars, little kind of, not a song, but getting some music out there that's different than what they've got. And and I love finding people through TikTok. I find TikTok brings me a lot of different music that I found like on like a lot of UK rap and stuff like that. And TikTok has kind of introduced me to some new artists that I probably wouldn't have found on Instagram or even on Spotify.
Do you find a lot of new music on Spotify?
Um, I don't go to Spotify to to look for music. I like using YouTube. Like YouTube is something I'm a little bit more proficient with, and I love visuals and I think things catch my eyes like that. I kind of like that, which is why I enjoy TikTok and finding music on TikTok. You get clippets of music videos and stuff like that. But I don't necessarily use Spotify for searching that. Although when I'm into a specific genre, I would say, or a song, I'm really enjoying a specific type of song, I find Spotify radio works pretty well in terms of bringing similar styles of music, some that I've heard and some that I haven't. And that's kind of a good way to find some new music sometimes, but not my favorite source of finding.
All right, let's talk about your live performance. So we're gonna come back into the world. Yamus gonna hit them stages and do his thing. When you perform, do you memorize your songs, or do you like plan on playing your track and kind of going over it like that? Like, how do you picture your live
Um,
performance going?
how do I picture my life? I know all of my songs off by heart. Mix of, repeating it so many times to myself in recording and listening to my own music. I love listening to my own music and finding things that I don't like and changing them and kind of making, small minor changes. And I find that in listening to them often. So I don't tend to forget my lyrics, but I think that there's a vibe in the way it's recorded that comes off a little differently than live performances, and like it's a famous saying, some people are better live and some people are worse live. And I think that people that are coming to your live are enjoying the music you're putting out, that you've recorded and you've put work into, and there's a talent in mixing and mastering, and shout out to all the guys that do that. They're like crazy talented. And I think that a mix of both is kind of keeps the energy up. I don't believe in lip syncing or any of that kind of stuff, but I think that having at least a little bit of it in the background keeps that vibe and energy that you created with the type of music that you made when you recorded in the studio.
That is so different than how I appreciate live performances, but it's still real and it's still what y'all do with it. I respect the fact though that you know all of your tracks and that you're gonna come bring it. But man, it's crazy. Like, I have a live versions of my songs where I keep my ad libs or whatever, and they're at like half volume, and then I keep my choruses at half volume. But otherwise, I just rip the verse. I don't give a shit if it sounds like the studio. You're not in the studio. You're live. It's never gonna sound the same. I can't be that. So I just fucking do this shit. If I can hit it on beat and I can say the words properly and it's good enough, then it's a good live show. Because live shows is mad different. It's like a lot more about exuding confidence and eye contact and interacting with the crowds. And you can have fun with crowds. You can just tell them what to do and they do it. Like, yo, make more noise, and they're like, "Bah." And you're like, you know what? That wasn't enough noise. Please. I usually don't say please. I'm usually way ruder. Make more noise. And then it's funny because if you're really rude, they really do make more noise. And it's this baffling like reverse psychology of real life that I fucking fucks with. Dude, I fuck up every live performance and people don't even care. You care in the YouTube after, but you don't care in the moment. It's just a vibe. It's like a whole vibe of imperfection that like I love. So if you bring your shit without that backtrack and you just fucking rip your verse, I guarantee you that audience is gonna fucking respect you like in a huge way. You know what I'm saying? That's how I know it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I don't know what the right choice is. I know I've listened to the debate for a decade.
Yeah, I mean, I was never I didn't go to many concerts. I've probably been to four in my life. So when I started going to concerts, and if you've been to at least, I would say, mainstream concerts, Drake, Travis Scott, it's a lot of background track to it. And that's kind of like the way I always saw concerts. I never went to see live like bands besides, when I played them pretty much. So So to me, that was like kind of how I always saw it. And again, I've never done a live performance. I don't even know, maybe I'll do it and I'll hate with the backtrack and maybe I won't. So,
I like that
that's just
attitude.
kind of how I look at it. So
For real though, all the live performances you've seen, everybody famous, everybody's just doing this, so it's kind of like what makes sense and shit. I don't know, man. Like for me, it's not like there's a right and a wrong, right? At the end of the day, there's you connecting with your audience, and whatever works for you works for you. I just know what I like better. As like a fan, I'm like, yo, if mans can perform the track without the backtrack, that's the littiest shit. Cause then you hear it. Then you can do that shit like slip up the one little line and make it like Montreal or Dorval or Point Claire. Or, you just like do that little fucking flip ups, and you can create that slightly more personalized version of the song in a way where it doesn't compete with your backtrack. But then again, that's if you want to do that shit. So I really like the fact that you're also open minded enough to want to just fuck with it and see what works. That's a very smart approach to things. I also like the fact, just to give you your flowers, that you put all this time into like working on your songs and perfecting them, and like you said, you put effort into that shit, and you put effort into memorizing them and practicing them. And I know it may seem weird I'm highlighting this, but sometimes I like to highlight this with the young people because of the old people I know. It is what it is. There's generational misconceptions where literally every time I talk to somebody of your group of people, it's like, oh, they work really hard and they're extremely talented and they're using A/B testing to like optimize, and they seem to understand data and they're just fucking producing a lot. And that's my perception with y'all. So it's like, just kind of want to showcase that when I can and make sure that people take you seriously when they come across you because you are putting that work in.
yeah, yeah, and I think that, like I said before, the ease of 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 technology being able to put out music, people being able to make music so easily, kind of, like puts the doubt in the minds of the older generation. And it makes sense. Like it is easy to make a song and kind of put no effort into it and use presets and all that stuff. But I think that you can kind of hear a difference when someone does put the time and the effort into it, and it shows in the way that they promote themselves and carry themselves, and and the type of music they put out, and the type of views they get at the end of the day.
And something else to say is, as much as I do believe I heard about cocaine and heartbreak a bunch on your music, I also heard that you went some politicals, especially on that Drew remix, and that you were willing to like go there with it. What kind of content do you see yourself focusing on? Like, do you have like rules that you follow, or what is it that kind of makes you like inspires you to write?
Um, I think that my music is a mix of of life and fantasy, or or yeah, life and fantasy. I'm a big daydreamer. I'm a big picture myself in the moment kind of thing, kind of person. And I think that my music is, it's not, it's made to invoke kind of a vibe and an emotion into, like, when you're listening to it. Every song, and when you listen to my like at least what's out and what I have coming, my songs range from emotional to hard and trap. And I think that in terms of my personality, Yamus was always kind of like a second personality for me when I was younger. It was always like my my bad side, in a way, where it was kind of like I was a really good kid, and I carry myself really well, and I appreciate my parents and my family for raising me that way, to respect. And the dollar community raised me that way, where I was, private Jewish school. I'm not trying to flex a life that I didn't live, but at the same time I kind of went through things that don't happen in that community, and did things that I'm not, as proud of. But kind of made me who I am, and my music kind of just bounces between Yamus and Jamie and my real life. So it's kind of, I make music that like I enjoy. Sometimes I'm enjoying trap music, sometimes I'm enjoying slow music, and whatever it is at the time is kind of what I write, and I put them together, and you know, every song has its own vibe. I don't think I have like a full solo vibe to my whole persona. I think I got like a little bit of everything.
I like that. Like you're in a discovery phase almost, where you're still kind of like testing the waters. How did you come up with the name Yamus?
So Yamus is a name that was made for me, or a nickname that came about through little derivations of my other nicknames, and pretty much my best friend Mike, one of my brothers from childhood, called me Jamis, James, Jamis, Jamie, whatever. He would kind of mix everything, and from there, calling me that often, one of my other boys from childhood, Dave, kind of came up with the term Yamis, and it kind of like took off. Every childhood friend from DDO that I know pretty much will always call me Yamis, and any one of my close boys from then and from now, my boy Kyle, Wacko Jacko, Axel, all of them, like anyone that knows me knows Yamis, and they call it to me based on kind of the mood I'm in, and the situation I'm in. When it's game time, it's Yamis, and when it's chill, it's Jamie and James and all that. So that's kind of how I took it, and I like it, and I've had people tell me it's not a vibe. I've had people say it's interesting, it's weird, they don't know how to pronounce it, but at the end of the day, it's just that's the
So,
name I roll
so
with.
the homeboy Ismail's like, is it Jewish? And I'm like, it could be Jewish. It's either Jewish or Arabic in some way. I wasn't 100% sure. And then,
It's not a derivation of my Hebrew name, but
ooh, what's your
but
Hebrew
I
name?
mean, my Hebrew name is Ephraim.
Nice.
It's yeah. So
Don't worry.
it's not a derivation of it, but you know, it was built in that Jewish community, and most of my Jewish community friends from childhood are what call me, or who call me Yamis. So it kind of has that Jewish origin to it.
Yeah, I respect it still. I don't know. My Hebrew name is Chunin. I don't know if I can properly pronounce that. That's my Hebrew name. There you go, people of the internet who's watching. But yeah, no, I fucks with that. Dollard's a sick community. I like the fact that how many times you went back to like Dollard being a dope ass community. What's it like growing up in Dollard?
It was it was interesting, easy, so to speak. I mean, I went to a private Jewish school. You know, I lived in somewhere middle, upper middle class, kind of had strict mom, pretty chill dad, and and friends that were, you know, most of us were pretty much all straight arrows. You know, it wasn't a tough growing up in any way of the sense. You know, besides internal struggles, life was
But did
pretty
y'all
good. You
like
know, I lived in
did you do all the Dollard shit? I know there's a lot of Dollard shit.
like I mean, like I played Dollard hockey. I played soccer for Dollard. You know, I rode bikes with everyone down to DQ in the summer, and chilled in the parks. It was there wasn't there wasn't a lot of worries. There wasn't, you know, it was a pretty easy time growing up, and it was, yeah, around a lot of straight arrows, and kids with high dreams and a lot of motivation for life. So it was a big part of, you know, me becoming who I am. And I think that, you know, my life has drastically kind of changed when coming out to Kirkland and moving out here. It's a different kind of community, and it turned me into a different kind of person, but at the end of the day, I'm a DDO kid from birth, and that's my hood.
Yeah, I don't even know that
So
much about Kirkland. I just know I'm like I just because I learned to drive in Dalar, right? So I was living in. That's where I turned 18. I did like 16 to 21 in Hyman and Sunnybrook land. So I went to Abbott. I did the whole. I got my license on Hymus. That's the easiest place to get your license. In case you don't know, there's nowhere easier in the city. Cruising through fucking Point Claire in the daytime. There's no traffic. It's a fucking wonderful vibe. Um, so I know all about Kirkland because of the Colisée and that whole little mall. And that's like, otherwise, why the fuck do you go to Kirkland? It's just like over there. And you never, unless you know somebody in Kirkland, there is literally no reason to really go to Kirkland, is my experience with it.
Yeah, pretty much. The only time I was in Kirkland was hockey games, and from time to time the colleagues. I mean, as a DDO kid, I pretty much lived at Guzo. And I had a lot of friends that worked there, so I spent a lot of late nights there, chilling at Guzo and going on the roof and doing some crazy things there. So
Y'all went on
I
the roof at the, which,
like
like the fucking Desaurus Guzo?
yeah. I got boys that were working at Guzo, and I had the hookups riding bumper carts, max speed, and living life there, chilling in the theater, solo, watching movies till like 3, 4 in the morning. Um, but yeah, so Collie was like, yeah, Kirkland was kind of the same thing for me. It was an arena I played at, and the Kirkland Collies there from time to time, and that was about it. Never really went there, maybe to get some food on in the strip malls, but played against sports, and that's about it.
Mm.
So it was different, and especially I lived bike distance and walk distance from pretty much every single one of my friends. So I moving out somewhere, and I hadn't had my license at the time. It was kind of shock and weird, and I was very, I'm not a big, very OCD, and I get into a pretty intense routine with life, and it was weird for me. It kind of shook me up and kind of changed my direction in life a bit.
Mm.
But
That's it.
I love it now, and it's great now.
But it's interesting to see how much like a transition, like just moving, because y'all may not notice, but Dollard and fucking Kirkland are similarly, like they're not that far apart. As much as they're very different neighborhoods, they're not that far apart. So just the idea of popping to another neighborhood can have such an impact on somebody is fascinating to me, just because you're uprooted from where you're at and put into somewhere completely different. And I just like this kind of talk. Believe it or not, I feel like we all think about shit like this, but nobody ever really talks about shit like this. So if we can, I don't know where the conversations go. If I went here, it's dope for me. So I appreciate you sharing it. But I have other questions. So let's say music. You say you're in this place where if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You just want to keep producing it. You want to ride the wave, be involved in the community. Do you have other dreams and ambitions then that like you also want to accomplish? What is the other parts of Yamus?
So I have a career. I just pretty much finished school. I'm a mechanic. I work at Audi. So I have a career, and that I'm very extremely passionate about
Yo,
it,
hold
and I
up. Shout
love
out
working on
Joker for
cars.
following fucking JK, kid who fucking schooled me on social media. Just hit the follow button.
Yo, say word. Shout out JK. Thanks for dropping in, man. Thanks for the support. We got some work on the way. We got some exciting things.
JK dope.
Yeah, facts.
Sorry, go back to your mechanic stuff though.
So yeah, I have a career that, I'd be more than happy living the rest of my life out, doing, and that's why I think that that music is more of a passion for me and a hobby, and just something that I can, let loose on, and lay my emotions out on the table, and enjoy while doing it, and get to go through that process, and all that stuff. So, if I, spend the rest of my days as a mechanic, I'm more than happy. And if I blow up and end up as a famous superstar, that I'm more than happy. So I'm pretty happy with where I put myself in life, and that's why I enjoy making music so much, because I'm not stressing it. I'm not banking all my marbles on this.
So your plan then is to just be a mechanic who makes music.
I wouldn't say it's my plan. My dream from childhood, and I'm still not against it, is to be a famous, artist, music artist, that's been my dream. That's always will be my dream. That's why I make music and put, what free time I do have into my music, and trying to perfect it and make music that I enjoy and people enjoy. Because I want, that's what I want. But I think that eh, when you when you put all your eggs in one basket, it leaves you pretty vulnerable, and life's a bitch sometimes, and can beat you up. And I think that having a fallback plan that is not just as, but as passionate to me, and and as personal to me as music, is a good feeling, and a reassuring feeling in life.
Yeah, I totally get that. I never quit my job, so I'm still jobbing this whole time I've been doing all this stuff, and I really like what I do for a living. I get to work with people and do interesting things. Not all of it's interesting, but I'm really passionate about marketing and internet marketing and all of that good shit. Like, I just love it. I sit there and watch fucking videos from marketers about marketing. That's fun to me. So I get to do that for a living. Plus, that's basically a huge element in music. So it's like, this is fun. It synergizes well. But I empathize heavy. Like, I do interviews. I do all kinds of shit now. Honestly, because I agree with you. It's kind of good to not put all your eggs in one basket. However, I also have all the admiration for the people who are able to just kind of pursue that and like go all in and just like pursue that thing. I do think above a certain age, the multiple basket eggs is probably the move. But like, especially if you're real young, do what you gotta do is all I'm saying. But like, I think it's cool that
Yeah,
you're
and
just open
and
minded about having multiple passions and multiple reasons to be in this.
yeah, and full respect and all the credit due to the people that, that bank on this, and use that motivation of kind of wanting this so bad that this is the only kind of passion you follow, to make good music and to kind of make their dreams come true. And I think that, if you can afford to do that, I think, that's a great, that's a great thing. And if I could afford to do that, and not have a job, and just spend every single day making music and not pay any of my bills, then I probably would. But I know that, life's real, and bills need to be paid and things need to get done, and I luckily found, a passion that I'm also interested in, and that I could make a
I'm gonna be a
career out of, that was realistic.
So what's interesting about what you said though is I think I'd rather listen to the rap of a guy who's a mechanic writing about his experiences, because that would be some shit that would be fucking worth writing about, at least, or something. This is preferences that I would rather listen to. Whereas the person who might work all day on their craft is probably gonna make some bless ass music that I might not be as interested in listening to personally, because I'm onto that real life shit. Like, yo, half the reason I can write songs is because I lived through shit at work, and it's like, I'm gonna write about this shit and parables and stuff. So it's like by having those real life experiences, and I mean, I get the feeling you still practice your craft like a lot. Do you practice every day?
You're talking about like mechanics or music?
Both. Now I'm curious about both.
So mechanics, I mean, I have a regular job. I work 40 hours a week, Monday to
Respect.
Friday. But I pretty much, yeah, I do music any free time I can get. I have, a girlfriend, and I, trying to keep my life good, and balance my life. But I put work into my music, and I don't rush things. And I think that's a really important thing in making good music and making good content, is not to kind of force yourself to rush things out just because you want to get things out, but to maybe work on them a little bit longer and put yourself in a better position a little bit more in the future, to to help yourself succeed a little bit more. So
Mm.
I work on my music, and I spend, if I have no time one day, I have no time one day. If I have an hour, and I spend that hour, and if I have, 10 hours, 12 hours, I spend 10 hours, 12 hours. I've done everything from 30 minutes to, all day, 2, 3 days in a row of doing music. So So I try to maximize my time as much as I can and dedicate as much of my passion and my time to music as I do to anything else that I care about in life.
I love that answer too. I relate heavy to that shit. But yo, just the level that you're putting, the level of effort that you're putting into all of this has me very optimistic for your future. I'm convinced that the world is gonna have less millionaires in music, a lot less millionaires, but a lot more people making like $80 to $120,000 a year off of music, which means a lot more people get paid, which is very good for a lot of people who want to be career musicians, and maybe really bad for people who want to be super rich career musicians, because there's like two different things, right? There's I live off of this, and then there's I live off of this and I live luxuriously. I don't know how many people will hit that status in the future the way things are going, but with that kind of level of ethic and willingness to connect with people, it's like, yeah, it's just now a matter of finding rev streams. Bringing up, yo, you should make mechanic raps though. I would fuck, if you were like, bro, I fucking put the wrench and I twisted the wrench and fixed the axle and I don't know my car shit. But if you did it like with real car shit and you like broke down how to like fucking fix cars and shit, I swear I'd geek on that. I wouldn't listen to it a lot, but I'd listen to it sometimes. That's the truth of it. Like that kind of stuff is fucking cool to me because it's like tutorials plus it's like fucking music plus. I mean, nobody else might agree with me, but just being able to do some shit like that is cool because you bring that mechanic passion into it. So,
Yeah.
so do you have interest in like content marketing? Like, how do you go about marketing yourself? Do you put a lot of effort into that kind of thing?
The project I'm depending on the project I'm working on, I put different levels of effort into it in a way. Certain songs I've, gone the promo route and kind of that style. I have a track dropping next Friday with Lynx, and we, just finished up a photo shoot a couple days ago. So working on some, different types of promo and stuff like that. I was dabbling with the lyric videos and stuff, but I think that yeah, I think that promo is kind of the way to get people to give you a chance. If you don't try to get people to listen to you, then no one's really going to listen to you except for the people you tell. Nobody knows you released music until you tell them that you released music. It's not like, especially on things like Spotify and Apple Music, it's not easy to find a low key artist unless you're looking for them in a way. So I think that promo is kind of the only way, at least for guys that are going this new generation of making music at home route, to get people to give you a chance. And like Drew pushing heavy on Instagram, he just steadily built his followers by constantly putting out content for them to watch, and that's what I'm trying to do too by posting more tracks and lyric videos and mixtapes and stuff like that.
So I'm glad you mentioned Drew because it'll help me have an example to transition to my next question. So let's say promo is that. Promo is what gets people's eyes on your shit. The marketing is the other side of it where people get the two twisted. So the consistency and etc. and the hashtag game, these are all promo moves. But really what makes Drew shit interesting is the DIY marketing elements, the you can do this tuneness, the raw emotional, this whole like brand he's built around this NSL collective that he's put together, and y'all should go follow them. The fucking dope at nsl.collective. But like you see like this almost bigger picture, this almost like character arc to Drew that plays out across all of this content that he's putting out, and that's where more the marketing comes in. It's like the glue that takes your various pieces of promo and puts them together behind a cohesive brand. So you put a lot into that side of things.
I think that what get people to, like, at least what makes me enjoy watching Drew's content, and what I think gets people to enjoy Drew's content is you kind of see him and a mix of the reasons he's doing things and the background behind it, and you kind of get to know Drew. And I think that with a lot of artists, it's about selling yourself as much as it is selling your music. People that are hardcore fans love the artist just as much as the music they release. they know their details about their life, and they watch them go about, you know, their everyday life. So I think that it's important to kind of sell yourself. And as you can see from my Instagram, you know, I'm not doing reels and you know, many interviews with artists I'm working with and stuff. Not that it's, you know, something I'm against. I think it's a crazy good tool that he's taken advantage of. But I'm just, you know, I was, you know, never extremely proficient in social media, in the sense that I never posted, like, even on my main, like my real account, I never post often. You know, I was always a lesser poster. I posted like maybe once or twice a year. And starting music and seeing, you know, JK and Drew and Lynx and Purge and all these guys post and make music videos and teasers, and All Stars helping Drew make these kind of, you know, snippets and all these things. It's kind of motivated me to put out more content and kind of push myself a little bit more to, you know, get get things out there that are kind of showing myself off, and to kind of market myself. But I wouldn't say I'm at the top of my game in terms of it.
Ah, but it's cool that you're paying attention to all these things. Yo, are people interviewing each other on Instagram? Is that what's happening?
Well, I wouldn't say they're interviews, but if you watch, like, and I'm taking a lot of examples from Drew because, you know, huge shout out to him. He puts in tons of work, and he's my boy, and he grabs artists that he works with. His summer song there, and Wave Runner, and the song he did with I'm not sure what her name was, but she was singing on it for one of his older EPs. He brought them into an interview on Zoom, like you're doing, but on Instagram, and pretty much talked to them at, you know, what they thought of when they, you know, first started talking, and how the song came about, and how their parts came about, and the meaning behind their lyrics, and their kind of journey through it. And he kind of introduced you to himself, and allows him to show more of himself and to show off, you know, the people he's working with. And he gives, you know, tons of credit to everybody that works with him, and he loves working with everybody. And, you know, so I think that that he does it well, and, you know, it's good motivation for everybody else in the community.
Yo, big facts. Not gonna lie, doing interviews, a real smart move, in my opinion. I mean, a little biased here, but for a lot of the reasons you just said, it's been effective with my networking in the city, because you can be consistent when you're doing interviews. It's not like these opinions and ideas or anything I'm gonna say isn't some shit I said last week on a live. You know, like, you kind of get to follow it more, and love it or hate it. Not everybody likes me. One of those names you mentioned doesn't like me. That's fine. But like, that's okay too, right? Like, you just there's so many people in this city, and there's so much opportunity here that, like, I think a lot of people are going to be able to carve these different pockets and lanes. And especially the West is such an interesting place, because there's so few venues, but like, there's so much West. And there's got to be, like, if you went to St. Thomas, right, and that's just one school that had a whole bunch of people collaborating, and then you went to Sejep, you went to Abbott with all these people, that's an amalgamation of all of this shit. And you guys were probably one pocket at Abbott, and there was probably 15 versions of you at Abbott that you never even met. Because what, there's like 7,000 people at that fucking school. It's fucking huge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, it just makes me go, and that's just the West. Then there's Dawson, then there's Vanier, then there's fucking, I think Marianopolis is a thing, then there's all the French ones, which is a whole other scene that's inside of our city. Yo, do you fuck with French artists? Do you know a lot of French people?
I know a lot of French people. Like, I listen to all music. I'm not a big fan of French music. I find a lot of meaning in lyrics and understanding lyrics. So that's kind of like the only reason for it. But you know, I fuck with all artists, and I know French rappers and all that stuff, but not really my thing.
I respect that. I fucks with it sonically. I don't get French puns. I speak French pretty well, but I don't get the jokes or the metaphors. I just get the rhymes and the flows. But yeah, I miss the West Island. I had some great fucking years living in Dollard. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was a weird time. It was my first apartment was in fucking Dollard. Like I learned to drive in Dollard. I worked at the Super Club Videotrons up on Day Source. So like all of that shit. So I remember. Well, I don't know about the Guzo. Apparently the Guzo gained floors one day. I remember when it was just the one floor Guzo at the mall, and then it just gained floors one day. I don't know, man. That's bringing me back a little bit. But let's say the West Island comes back to life. Where would you fucking go perform in the West? What is the live scene or the nightlife scene of the West like these days? It's been a long time since I've really been out there at that time.
Like in terms of nightlife, I never went out very often. I don't club really. I don't really go to bars. It's not really my scene. I'm more of a homebody, house party kind of person. But I mean, McKibben's has been popping, and it's probably, now that terraces are open, going to be pumping again. Annie's, these are just like famous
Yeah, Annie's is still
bars.
around.
Yeah, it's still around.
I respect. It's fine.
Yeah, a lot.
Is
A
it
bit, but yeah.
okay? So is the house party thing a big thing in the West?
I would say, yeah, it's a pretty big thing in the West. I mean, obviously not right now, but before all this, yeah, it was a pretty big thing. Lot going on. Pretty much every weekend you could find something.
Do you think it's viable to do a grind where you just bust sets at house parties?
I think that I think it's a little bit weird in the West in terms of, I find house parties are very centralized to specific groups in terms of, like you have your friends at the house party. We don't have a lot of house parties that it's like open invites and people are, piling in that you don't know, you do know. I find they don't happen as much here, or at least not a lot that I've been to. So if it was more of like a mixed up community, I feel like it could be more of a feasible thing. But I think that, playing at a house party with just your friends is the same as kind of like playing, your music on the aux. It's like everybody's heard your song before, and you can rap to them in person, not being at a party. It's like the same people you've always seen. I think that a lot of playing music in person and like in like a show form is cool to have, people that you don't know or you've never met that are, enjoying your music still, because I find that there's a lot of fake fake love for people. If like, I find a lot of people will listen to music just because you ask them to, and then they'll never play it again. And I think that seeing people that enjoy your music that don't even know you and they just enjoy your music is like a different feeling than playing it for people that will always tell you that it's good.
Yeah, that's big. I respect that a lot. There is something to having strangers come up to you after and be like, your shit's dope. It's kind of a big thing. So where would you perform in the West these days?
Honestly, I'm open to anything, and I think it'd be cool to maybe organize something like a park kind of set where we kind of just make an event and make something out of nothing, really, because like bar scenes, it's cool, but I don't think that it's the bar styles we have here, McKibben's and Annie's are more of like a live band kind of style than it is like a rapper performance kind of place. I think that it's more of like a background music, a lot of people socializing versus somewhere where you're going to listen to music. So I think that in terms of doing it in the West, at least for me, I would see a park or a public place as something of a better opportunity, maybe like the mall or something like that, where you can catch congregations of people, unknowingly and knowingly, and kind of draw a crowd and show off to local community. And if you're there, in the middle of the day and you show up to this, you're listening for the music. If you're at the club and somebody's playing, sometimes you're just trying to talk to your friends. You're just trying to have a drink. The music isn't your style, so you don't really care. But if you're walking through in the park and that's the only thing playing, you tend to give it a little bit more attention, stuff like that. So I think that'd be probably the best way I see of doing it.
I had the same conclusion for NDG because there's really nowhere to go fucking bar wise. There's no venue, in my opinion. There may be a venue that I'm unaware of, but not really. It's like one little bar thing. It's not like the littiest to me. And then I'm sitting there at Girard Park, and they apparently turned Wednesday night into this whole like hip hop oriented event thing. I haven't been to it, but it's been made clear to me it's super fucking litty. But I can tell you, Girard Park's fucking hot in NDG, and I know it's like 5, 6. You guys have forests. You guys could, like in the west, I mean, like right up on fucking in Dollard, up by like where the IGA used to be. There's like a whole forest up on Gwen, and there's another one up in fucking the island there, Il Bazaar or not, whatever. And it's like you look at these you could do like forest shows. Like that's fucking cool. I'd go to a forest show. I don't know how legal it is, but it's doable. I'm not worried about the legalities. There's always workarounds, but also you can get permits. I think it's possible, but still, that's really cool to see that you see it like that. Because I was personally going, I don't think people under the age of like 27 are gonna go to these bars and be like, "This is the littiest." I just didn't see y'all at the bars beforehand, so I just assumed y'all did other things. What do you guys go clubbing? Like, what do you think where people are at? Like, if you wanted to reach people from a nightlife perspective.
I think that clubbing is a huge nightlife activity in Montreal, not just the West, but in Montreal in general. You know, with the good clubbing we have here, it was never my kind of cup of tea. I'm not. It was just not my scene. I've been and I've enjoyed myself pretty much every time I've gone, but it was just never my type of thing. But it's a huge prominent thing, and almost any weekend on all over Instagram, you can Snapchat, you can pretty much catch a view of every club from stories and things like that, because everyone's there pretty much any chance they get if you're into that kind of life. And the West is a lot of people that a big community of people with a little bit more money that are willing to go and drop hundreds at the club every weekend and get plastered, versus the people that sit at home with $40 bottles of the same alcohol at house parties and stuff like that. So I think that it wasn't my scene, and I can't speak a ton to it, but it is a huge scene in Montreal and it's very noticeable. And I would say like clubbing is the young people's kind of nightlife thing that I would say is the most popular.
Alright, let me ask you a different question. Do y'all prefer like weed or alcohol in general?
Uh, Personally, I prefer weed. I'm not a big drinker, but I think that it's pretty close nowadays. I think that alcohol still takes it, just because people are still pretty reserved about weed, and it being pretty new to being legalized and accepted, I guess, socially, and still not terribly accepted socially. So I think that alcohol is still a prominent thing, but I think that weed will become the next generation's kind of alcohol, in terms of it being a little bit more chill, manageable, and you know it's new to being legalized. So I don't think I can really predict the future to it, but to me it's always been a part of my life, so I never saw it as this bad thing. So it's now it's part of my it's just a part of life to me. So I think that weed is prominent amongst especially my friends, but alcohol, I would still say, take the cake.
That's a really good answer, Stills. I think weed takes over in the long run too. Don't even get me wrong. It's just a chiller fucking drug. That's what it is. But I was thinking a lot about that, and why I asked is because there's not a lot of weed-friendly music things outside of festivals, and that's why I think festivals are such a powerful force, because you can just burn at a festival and not actually miss the music, whereas like a lot of other venue options cater to alcohol and maybe other things that people do which are not as smoke friendly. So I was curious to see, your perceptions on that shit too. And you went to the park thing, which, let's be real, it's just fucking weed friendly. That's why people like parks, is because you can burn that shit. You can sit there for like 6 hours and burn that shit, and it's all fucking good in the hood. And that's a huge part of the Montreal. Like, you just gotta go to the Tam Tams, and you see what goes on there. It's just lots of that shit, and it's been like that since I was fucking at Abbott. Abbott's great, and Abbott's a big weed culture because there's like what, 2 bars. So really, what are you gonna do? You're gonna smoke a joint on campus.
Yeah, they got a school shop down the road.
Oh, that's cool stills. I don't know. Plus, there's like all this water and shit nearby, so you can like sit there in serenity and fucking smoke a joint by the water and like be at Abbott. It's a fucking good vibe. Yo, were you involved in any of the Abbott clubs and shit?
Clubs, not really. Yeah, no, I pretty much, school was never my favorite thing in life. I pretty much hated it since I was a kid. So I kind of went to Abbott, did what I had to do, which for the first couple of years wasn't much, but and just kind of finished it and was happy to leave and kind of go on with what I really wanted to do. But yeah, I didn't spend much time outside of school time at Abbott. I was gone on breaks and I was just there for class. So yeah, I didn't really.
Fair enough. So yeah, when is your next albums and stuff coming? When do you have releases anticipated?
So I have a track coming out next Friday with Lynx. Me and him have been working on a collab project for well over a year now. We're pretty close to being done. I mean, we have a good amount of songs. We're still trying to put some dots, cross some T's and dot some I's on a couple of things and finish some projects up. But I have a project with him coming soon. I got music with JK, Drew, coming out soon. I got music with Ara coming out soon. Some dubstep vibes, and I'm pretty much just getting myself, like I said, set up to be able to constantly drop music and kind of keep my name relevant instead of, one here and one there. I'm kind of trying to build up so I can keep a steady flow and keep up the buzz around, my name and the music I make and the Montreal community.
Yo, Yamus, I really fucks with you. I like that you came through. I like this whole conversation we had. Yo, I'm not really sure where to go with the conversation. So for me, it's like a sick time for us to wrap it up and make it fucking organic and proper. Honestly, you said a lot of amazing things. I love your attitude about Pro Montreal. I like everything you're doing about it. I have one more question, actually, before we properly wrap up. How do you feel about Twitch? Because if you went live on Twitch and wrote songs and did a whole bunch of shit, you could probably get that buzz. What I'm saying, and get a little more love going on there.
Yeah, I think Twitch is dope, and I've been dabbling in terms of setting up an account and kind of trying out what streams would look like and getting equipment set up and stuff like that. So I've been kind of dabbling in it. Twitch was always, I used to watch Twitch. So I used to watch gaming and all that kind of that side of Twitch, and since kind of getting into the music thing and seeing a lot more people are doing live stream performances and live stream sets, and you host tons of freestyles and get-togethers where people can pop in
every Tuesday,
and, lay their stuff down. Lay their stuff down, and I think that it's a really good community in terms of being able to get live content out there, and I've been working on it and trying to get something going there, and maybe we can
because I'm definitely happy to help you with anything you need help with. Anybody wants to come on Twitch, because it's vacant. There's not enough of us, so check it when the stream is done proper, because now I got excited about Twitch. We gotta talk about this for a minute. There's no rules to my interview. We just fucking go, and then we just whatever. We gonna raid Lemef, because Lemef's the homie. He does off the domes. So if you follow him or whatever, use channel points, he'll make beats or fucking do whatever. I've seen him rap off the dome for like 30 minutes, and like his French bilingual raps and shit, and he does a whole bunch of interactions and whatnots, and you get subscriptions. And that's the thing about Twitch, is it's monetized, right? So like motherfuckers can subscribe to you for free with Amazon Prime, so that's $2.50 USD up in your pocket. Getting monetized once you're on Spotify is actually pretty simple. What you've done, you're already on Spotify. Hashtag DistroKid. They did well if you're with DistroKid. Like everyone's with DistroKid, so like I just assume that.
I'm with Below now, but I'm really switching over.
I guarantee you, whatever fucking thing you're with also made the same deal with Twitch.
Yeah.
So like, with that, what I did before this stream with you is I just started this Off the Dome series. Or I'm not gonna try very hard because I feel like that might be fun. And I'm basically taking Montreal beats with consent. I talked to the producers ahead of time, and I'm stealing their beats, and I'm fucking just off the doving it. So I was doing that live, right? Like, just putting out the shit. And so I'm like, okay, in theory, if you out there and you creating your songs live on the internet, and you can monetize the creation process, that's a whole different ballgame. Then you have the post-creation process where people can like look at the song when it's done and be like, okay, cool. But like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about shit like that?
I think it's really cool, and for me, writing is like an interesting process, and I'm not very proficient in freestyling at all, and I kind of like to sit down and write out a lot, but the first time I saw it was Tory Lanez did a Instagram live where he let the fans pretty much choose the beat, and then he went in the studio and recorded a song on live, and kind of came back every once in a while to talk to fans and see how they were liking it and stuff. And that was kind of my I like to watch the content to see other people's process, and to kind of take notes on how people go about making their music. And that's why I watched your interview with Drew, and I watched your interview with JK, and listening to them, how they, go about their music, how they think about their music, how they think about their promotion and marketing, and representing themselves, I think speaks a lot to how they end up doing in terms of views and plays and notoriety and all that stuff. So I like to watch the content and take notes. I'm not very good at like on the spot kind of, writing like in that sense. So it's not really my alley, but I love using it as a source of information and technique.
You could always just write it off cam and record it on cam or whatever. There's like loopholes to that. I mean, it's more like the ability to raid people. So, like, take every Instagram live that happens. If everybody's on Twitch, they can carry their audience over. So, there's like, however many people watching. Then you hit the button, and that whole audience goes onto the next man's channel. That's like what happened when Ghostface Miller raided us and brought in this whole bunch of stuff. And then he went and peeped your tracks. And, it kind of has that internalized, built-in community feature. But it doesn't work algorithmically. It's really more like we all have to be there throwing our audiences around for it to really stack up and have the effect it's supposed to have. So personally, I'm just pitching this at fucking everyone, trying to create that context for it. But yeah, if you ever need help with any of that shit, let me know. We can make that happen. That's out to everybody out there too that's watching, and you're in Montreal preferably. Not necessarily the whole world. But yeah, so I think, though, that it is just worth remembering that when real life comes back, the internet only takes you so far. The internet does not sell tickets. Views does not sell tickets. That's a lesson some people are going to learn. But I think the world's going to be interesting because there's so many people trying to bubble it up. Anyway, I appreciate you coming through. I really do like this conversation. I definitely want to keep talking to you and building, because I think y'all have the right energy and it's fucking great. And if we can like make magic happen in life, create bigger opportunities, it's just good for fucking Montreal. And that's more or less all I'm going for here, is to create the best fucking opportunities inside of the city with anybody I can. People who can be interviewed, blah blah blah, etc. We do what we got to do to build it up, because how am I supposed to meet everyone? How are we all supposed to do it? So we all just kind of have to collaborate, is how I look at it. Yeah. So thank you for coming and participating in my giant social experiment that I'm running on Twitch. I appreciate it again. All of your links have been popping through on the chat, and they're all going to be in the description below in the future YouTube videos. Do you have any last words you want to say to all the peoples out there?
First, thanks for having me and sitting down and taking the time to go through and interview all of us, all the young artists, and trying to understand the new type of social media and music industry that's kind of coming about. And I think that you're going into it with a really open mind, and it's hard for a lot of the older generation, especially people in the music industry.
Spit it. Facts.
But I appreciate you trying to bridge the gap and understand kind of where we're coming from and where we're at, and us learning from you and you learning from us. And yeah, shout out to everyone that came out and supported and came and popped in, and everyone that watches you and helps you do your thing. And thanks for having me, man. Shout out MTL. Let's get it.
Yeah, I appreciate you still, everybody. Appreciate you, fucking Yamus. Appreciate the crowd watching live, those here now, those that were there before. And yeah, all you in the future watching, like, subscribe, comment. Special thanks to the patrons as Milk MC, Chris Power, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Eric, and Linda Williams, Scribble the Dove. Support what we do, patreon.com/behindthatsuit, all that good shit if you want to show love. On that note, since Lemef went offline, we're going to rate Powder 514, who's a DJ up in the city. 514. And yo, when you get there, show love with the follows. On that note, it was fucking great to have you, Yamus. Live long and fucking prosper, everybody.